So, my name is Anna, and for today's DPI, we're discussing Pan's Labyrinth, which is a movie based in Spain during 1944, where Spanish soldiers are sent to a forest to flush out any rebels that are left there. The soldiers are followed by one of the main characters, his name's Captain Vidal, and he brings along his new pregnant wife who has a daughter from a previous man named Ophelia. And the movie follows Ophelia mostly of her in this fairy and mythical land that she starts to follow a faun and witnessing all of the sadistic behaviors of her stepfather.
Okay, so moving into the music, this is Dallas. Basically the overall music in the movie is basically thematically like fairy tale like, as is the plot. In the beginning of the movie, the music is kind of gentle and calm, similar to children's lullabies. The song actually played during the opening scene of the film has someone humming similar to like the sound of a mother humming to her child, putting them to sleep. And as the plot develops and the movie moves along, the music takes a turn and becomes kind of dark and like twisted, kind of like the plot. And the music still continues to have like that classical type of symphonic stringy sound. However, the music corresponds with the occurrences in the movie and is basically just like dark and eerie. So basically the bigger picture is, the music kind of corresponds with whatever is going on in the movie. So it starts with like soft, gentle lullaby like music, like in a fairy tale, and then develops into like dark horror like music, similar to like a nightmare or a horror movie, like those type of sounds that you would hear in a horror movie. Um, yeah. What did you guys think about like the casting?
I thought I mean, because I've never heard of any of these characters before, but I liked the characters. Because there was Ophelia, Captain Vidal, Carmen, the Fawn, which wasn't a person, but still a character, and then you had Mercedes and the doctor. For Ophelia, she is obviously a kid, and a lot of kids are just very curious. So when she was going around exploring all that, I was not surprised. I actually expected that of her. Um, and when she made mistakes, it's like, because a lot of movies sometimes, oh, this kid is supposed to be, they have a destiny or whatever, so they're not going to make any mistakes. She definitely made a mistake. She ate that grape. I don't know why she ate the grape. I don't know how she didn't hear that thing but behind her, but she ate that, and then the fawn was mad. She's very brave also because the first task that she had to go into some tree trunk, and she was crawling in mud, and there was bugs. They're very nasty, and it was a huge toad. And she just did that. She wasn't even scared. Because why? Because she was the princess. She knew her duty. So I wasn't really surprised. And in addition to that, she was very expressive, because I think that's what is very important, or just that's what's nice about having children as actors, because they're kids, so they can't really control their facial expressions as much. So they're just gonna automatically be very expressive in the face. They're gonna be very over dramatic. If they're sad, you're gonna know they're sad. And I think she did a really good job of doing that. Next I want to talk about Carmen, who was Ophelia's mom. She was very timid, but you could also just tell she just wanted the best for her and her daughter and her son. But her choice and partner, very questionable. She was sick. Well, she was pregnant, but again, in those times, there wasn't any modern medicine. So a lot of complications could happen, but she just wanted to please the captain, who was not a good person. Um, and she also wasn't believing her daughter. kids do not lie. Well, they lie, but you know, if your kid is telling you there's magic and she's being insistent, I think you should believe them. She wasn't believing her, and that's why she died. You know, she could have just believed in the magic. Now she burned the magical root and then she died. Um, I didn't want her to die, but I think there wasn't any choice. But her son lived though, so you know, we move. Again, back to her choice in partner. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why she did that because she obviously knows that Captain Vidal is a terrible person. He doesn't even want to acknowledge their relationship in front of all those people, talking about some, oh, she doesn't know how to act the wrong guest. No, bro. She's acting perfectly fine. They asked her a question. But moving into Vidal, I did not like him personally. I don't know how you guys felt about him, but personally, he was the worst character. He was the antagonist, obviously. So I think he was made to not be liked. But he was very prideful and full of himself. And he was all about being this macho man, da 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 da. Very misogynistic. Not a good person. He didn't really care about Carmen. He just wanted his son. He wasn't even sure that he was gonna have a son. He was just, yeah, I'm gonna have a son. I was hoping that he was gonna get a daughter instead of a son, but that would not be good for the daughter. Also his face, he just looked mean. His face was very stern. It was very expressionless, and he was always looking in the mirror like a narcissist. He was just looking in the mirror. He didn't really care about anybody else. He would kill anybody if he wanted to. He killed those people and they were just hunting rabbits. He smashed a guy in the face because they were just hunting rabbits, and the soldiers were like, oh, I don't know what they were doing. Why? How? You should just check the bag. Now they're dead. um I'm gonna move into Mercedes and the doctor. Actually, Mercedes, one of the greatest characters. You know, shout out to Mercedes. After Ophelia, she's one of the greatest characters. But I think she should have worked, or the character that played her should have worked on her facial expressions better, or maybe it was meant to be obvious. But whenever her and the doctor would like look at each other, you can obviously tell they're hiding something. I don't know why they were trying to make it so obvious. That's weird, because now you all gonna die. I didn't want the doctor to die either, but you know, somebody had to die. She's also a bad liar. At the end, when the captain was questioning her, she was acting all nervous, and it's like, bro, you've kept up this lie for how long? You can't even just keep the lie going. You shaking and stuff. I mean, it's obvious the captain knew, but try a little harder for me. There is no key. You should just continue on your lie. So yeah, I'm not really sure how nobody or none of the soldiers or captain caught on until later in the movie. But I think that also was on purpose because they're just so full of themselves and they don't care about anybody except to just murder and kill all these people because they think that they're right or something. I'm glad she stayed alive, you know. She redeemed herself. The last character I'm going to talk about was the fawn. Personally, did not like how he looked. Very creepy looking. He looked like Groot, but like in the worst way possible. Um, while he was, I guess, mentoring Ophelia, he was not being trustworthy. He kept saying a lot of cryptic stuff, and it's like, do you want her to trust you or not? But again, that's probably on purpose because, well, it's all a test. But he did not come off as trustworthy, and the fact that he was going to try to use Ophelia's brother's blood to give a sacrifice to the labyrinth, why would you do that? That is so messed up. And why would you yell at Ophelia? She's a kid. She doesn't know what's going on. She's 11. That's all I have to say about the characters. I don't know if you guys want to add anything about any of the characters, especially Vidal, because he was not a good person. But yeah.
No, I kind of wanted to add to what you said about Mercedes, how did nobody know? But like honestly, because Vidal was so full of himself and such like misogynistic, it was really funny when she said like, you would have never expected me to do that because I'm a woman. Like that really played into the whole thing.
Even
Yeah.
with that, and
Go ahead.
Or no, are you gonna say anything about the characters? Go ahead.
I was, but not about Vidal. So go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not talking about Vidal. We all know I hate that man.
I was just gonna say, to me, the fawn personally, the horns, it was giving devil, and I didn't trust him from the beginning. Like as soon as he popped up on my screen, it really threw me off, and I just knew something was off about him. But go ahead, what you were about to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, with the way that all the characters were, every time they would do something, you could like the can't well, you can't zoom into an inanimate object or fake character. But even when the freaking fawn was talking, they were so close to his ugly face. Why are you doing that? And I think that has a lot to do with the camera work and stuff. So I think we're just gonna move into editing and camera.
Okay, yeah. So with the editing and the camera work, I thought it was interesting because honestly, like it didn't seem like it was a whole lot. Like, okay, they had a lot of different angles. Like you could see when Ophelia was talking to the fawn and they would be like, oh, you see both of them. And then like you just see the fawn and then you see her because you can see like the emotions that she's feeling and stuff. But I also thought it was interesting how they started the movie off in the same way that like, not that it was ending, but it was almost the end where they were like introducing the story of the war and everything that was going on, but it was Ophelia that was dying in the first image that we saw. So, well, it might not have been the first image, but it was the beginning of the movie, definitely. I thought that was interesting because I didn't even realize that was her until it happened. And I was like, oh, shoot, like that was crazy how they did that. I also thought that some of the editing, not necessarily like the way they edited the scenes, but the way they had like the effects looked really bad to me. Like the gunshot wounds, they didn't look real. When the captain got shot in the face, that gunshot did not look real. I mean, the gunshot wound did not look real at all. When his eye was supposed to be like filling up with blood or whatever, it didn't look real. And then like when he was beating up the man who was out hunting in the woods with his father, that looked so fake. Like it looked like his nose was rubber and it was like going back out every time he hit it, even though he was like smashing his face. And I don't know, I just thought that was wild. And then also going back to like the editing and stuff, the scenes where it had the fawn and like they were all really dark. So it, to me, it kind of fit the personality of the fawn, saying that like, not necessarily that it was an evil presence, because at the end it kind of confused me with that, because with the afterlife, that scene was all super bright. And also the scene with I don't know what that creature was, but where he put the eyeballs in his hands that had the feast, that was bright too. But I feel like it was like saying two different things. With the feast scene, it was kind of like tempting Ophelia, and obviously it worked because she ate the grapes. And then with the afterlife scene, I guess it was like, I mean, not to bring like religion into it, but it was like heaven or whatever, basically. Like, so the afterlife, the good things, like everything's fine now. But you could definitely see a shift in like the colors in the scenes with that one. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. If anybody else had to add something else in.
Nah, I think you covered pretty much everything. I still think that fawn was creepy, but he was in the darkness, but he was all by the trees and the woods and in the forest. So
Yeah, I agree. The fawn wasn't I didn't really like him at first at all. I thought, I was like, in my head, I was like, nah, if that was me, I would have like really ran away. But for different people. But going into the studies in costume, as mentioned before, that this time period was in Spain in the 1940s after a war. And you can just tell that the movie's gonna be really like war affiliated, just because like how everyone was wearing military, or like everyone in the camp or in the castle were wearing military costumes, stuff like that, and how they were just focused on such like violence and like and we're better than you type of nature, especially coming from the captain. He even said one time in the film that they should know that we're better than them because we won the war. another thing I noticed in the film was that was the castle. It was very efficient in a way that it was running due to all the different servants running around, things of that nature, and the doctor coming in. And, like, you can just really tell that it was really like not modern day, just because like also the as mentioned before, the medicine was very not modern, and even how their practices were used to help heal were not modern as well. It was very 1940s settings as well. And also through how well they're dressing for the banquet when the visitors came to visit them at the castle. Their outfits were very, I don't want to say medieval, but definitely not what we would wear in this time period if we were to go meet someone for dinner. And I kind of thought I remember when Ophelia got her green dress with the black shoes, the one that she ruined in the mud when she was going into the tree stump. I remember her mom was like, "Oh, I really was really glad that I'm really happy that you can experience these type of riches that I never got as a kid." So it really just spoke to how your life was before then. It wasn't very very materialistic as before as they were now. And you could tell that the mom really took this opportunity to be with the captain, not just to have so her kids can have a brighter future with better money assets than what she could have given them before. That's all I really have for that. If anyone has any other points about costume or settings.
I wanted to just say one thing. I don't want to sound like a hater, but when Ophelia came down with her dress, like the green dress and the green bow and like the white thing on the front, they were like, "Oh my God, it's so pretty." I was thinking, wow, that is so ugly. She looks like a maid. I feel so bad, but that's it. But I mean, I guess it fits with the timeline, but yeah, I was not a fan.
Yeah, to each his own.
That's exactly what I thought of when I saw the white thing on top of her dress. I was like, that looks like an apron. She looks like she's about to help cook or something.
Really thought she ate. No.
No, and her mom was really gassing the dress too before she put it on. Like, oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. I wish I had something like this when I was your age.
Exactly. Anyways.
But kind of going into how like her mom was with her, I feel like kind of had to do a lot with the psychological impact of the movie. So we might as well get into that. Because her mom really seemed to have like this idea to treat her daughter like way better than she grew up, I feel like. But it was never mentioned in the movie at all how she actually grew up, which I thought was kind of weird since it was kind of pushed out a lot, especially with how I feel like because the movie mostly focused on all the distress that was happening during the war, and also her trying to push this family dynamic that was going on, and Ophelia just really hated it because the first couple minutes of the movie was her like, "Oh, your dad," like every part was your dad has to see this, your dad's going to love this, and her just fighting her like, "This is not my dad." That was the entire movie, which I feel like added so much stress to her. Plus, like the captain had the most obsession with his son, which I think also had to do kind of with how his dad was, because I think at the dinner table it was mentioned how somebody said that how his dad died similarly, like kind of in the war, and he was like, "Well, I never met my father." So I guess that's kind of why he was just so infatuated with the fact to have a son to like recreate that life that he never got. Sadly, he didn't because he died at the end because he deserved it. But yeah, kind of the whole thing kind of feel like led into her already obsession with like fairy tales, kind of made her see this whole world of like the fawn and the toads and the trials that she had to endure. Because I think one of the trials, the first one or the second one, I think, was to find like the key for from the toad, which kind of was like going on with in real life with Mercedes having to keep the key, like a copy of the key from Vidal. And I feel like she was kind of making those connections in her head. And the key was used in the other trial where she ended up getting the food, which also is happening that like, oh, now we have to keep people's food even more rationed while the rest of us who are sitting up on this high tower can eat as much as we want, which I feel like also had like a lot of what she was imagining was what was going on. So I feel like most of the movie was just her symbolizing and coping a lot of what was happening. Kind of like towards the end is where I felt like it got a little iffy because I was like, what is she trying to do? Like steal her baby brother? But I guess she dies or doesn't kill him, like sparing the innocent. So I guess she's kind of like the in between of good and what's right. Like she's kind of like a martyr if like we're getting symbolic about it, because like, oh, people who would have rather died than like killed the innocent people, I guess, during the time of war. Also, yeah, I missed the part where like the little creature that her mom threw in the fire and then her mom dies automatically. I feel like that whole thing was just her trying to cope with the fact that her mom was definitely going to die either way, because the entire movie, the poor woman was just bleeding and in pain and just looked sickly. It really seemed like there was no hope she was going to make it either way. So I feel like the whole movie was just Ophelia's little mind trying to cope with all the trauma going on. But yeah, that's what I got from it. I don't know if anybody wanted to add anything to that.
I wanted to add something. So I kind of missed this before when I was talking about the camera and the editing too. When they showed Ophelia reading the book, trying to figure out, or looking at the book or whatever, trying to figure out what she had to do for the second stage, and then like the blood started showing up on the page. First of all, when it first started coming, it was in the shape of a uterus. So I thought she was gonna have a miscarriage. But then she just ended up dying. And that threw me for a loop. Like that part was so crazy to me because I literally was like, wait, did I see that right? Like, was the blood in the shape of a uterus? But I don't know. That was a lot for me. Sorry, I forgot to say that earlier. And that I was really passionate about that part.
I remember that scene too, because like I really thought she had a miscarriage. Like, oh man, like that kid's a goner, like for sure. But like when they're like, oh, the kid is still alive, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm really confused. And I feel like because she didn't really have a miscarriage, because she did shut the book before the story was finished, so maybe that has something to do with it, maybe as to why there wasn't a miscarriage like right in that moment. I don't know, but that was an interesting part of the movie as well.
Speaking of the miscarriage, I think this actually transitions well to the script, because that particular part of the script, if you have somebody bleed, because she was bleeding a lot, I'm actually not quite sure how the baby still survived. I think that was not an error, but like a miscalculation, because you're gonna have somebody bleed like that, the baby's gonna, that sounds so bad, the baby most likely is going to not be with us. So that part of the script tripped me out. But I think, you know what? I think for the time that the movie was made, I think it was a pretty decent script. I personally enjoyed the movie. I think that the way the characters were written and how they like interacted in the movie was pretty good, because like it didn't seem over the top. A lot of the times the movies just seem over the top, but this was a fairy tale, so whatever was over the top didn't seem out of whack. If anyone else would like that about this script.
I agree to the point where like that miscalculation with the blood and the baby still surviving, that kind of threw me as well. But like you said, like for a movie made in this time period, the script was pretty good. I also enjoyed the movie and like the whole plot and everything. So yeah.
I don't know, man. I liked the movie a lot, but I personally had a couple, I didn't like dislike the script, but I just felt like a couple things didn't add up like that. And then like when the doctor asked the captain like why he was so sure he was having a son, I thought that was going to flip and then he was going to have a girl, and that didn't happen. And that was confusing. It was like they kept mentioning a bunch of things that I feel like had no maybe not no impact, but not the impact that the audience would have thought it was going to have. And then I also feel like the relationship they had between Mercedes and Pedro wasn't like accurate because they were siblings. And I feel like if you didn't hear them say they were siblings, that's not the like relationship that you would pick out for them. So I don't know. I thought the movie was good. I enjoyed the movie, but I just feel like there was kind of some discrepancies.
Yeah, if I didn't like actually know, or I actually did know, I thought they were romantically involved. I didn't realize that until the end. So I think that was, that was a mistake.
No, yeah, for real. The entire movie was very, like, it was a good movie, but the entire script was like hinting at something, and then the opposite would happen because that baby was just stuck like glue. It was just, I kept thinking she was gonna lose this baby. But also with the siblings, so that was just really weird. And also the script itself was very funny to me because since the movie's in Spanish and the subtitles are in English, it was like certain things just weren't making sense to me because I was like, I understand what's happening in the movie, but what I'm reading, they're kind of not adding up. But like, I feel like either way, you got the idea. But I feel like that's always the funny thing about scripts and movies that are in different languages. You can never really get like the full context.
Wait, this is unrelated. Do you speak Spanish?
Yeah, I speak Spanish.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So you caught on to things that we didn't even know was going on. Tragic.
No, yeah, I was watching this movie and I kept thinking to myself, like, well, these words and they're just very strange. And the funny thing is, I switched it to Spanish subtitles and they still weren't adding up. I was like, this is just weird. Netflix just put Google Translate and was like, have at it.
Wow.
That's actually so funny. Like, even in Spanish subtitles, it wasn't accurate. Like, they got to get it together.
But yeah, if anyone else doesn't have anything to say about this script, that is pretty much it.